everybody, we're doing a body weight bar class today. If you have some kind of chair, dining room table chair, or countertop that you can use for some balance and stability, go ahead and grab that so you can have something to hold on to while we're working. We'll also be doing some floor work, but I'm gonna have you guys start standing in kind of a fold over position. So grab a chair, whatever you need for that. You're gonna have your forearms overlapped. So one forearm down, opposite forearm on top of that. You're gonna step the feet back so that they're underneath your hips, and then you have a nice flat back. So try not to be rounded, try to stick the tailbone out, kind of have as long of a spine as you can, straight line between your tailbone and the crown of the head. You're gonna relax your forehead down onto the arms there, and then a little bit of a bend into the knees. We're gonna start stepping the right leg straight back, pointing the toes. And from there, keeping the leg straight, you're just gonna lift the leg up towards the ceiling, tapping the foot back down to the mat. So squeezing from right where the hamstring and the glute come together every time you lift. And keeping the leg as long and as straight as you can. And ideally, we're lifting to hip height, as long as you have room to lift that high. Keeping nice strong core, keeping that right hip, or the left hip, pulled back over the foot that's on the ground. All right, last two. We're gonna keep that leg lifted, little circles through that hip. So we're pointing the foot right back towards the wall behind us. Little circles through the hip, doing our best to keep the stability on our standing leg. Go ahead and switch direction with that circle. Doing our best to move from the hip instead of the knee. All right, guys, we're gonna lower that right foot across the mat to the bottom back corner, the back left corner, okay? So you're gonna go low to high diagonal, lifting the leg up and out to the right, tap the foot down to the left, lift it up and out to the right. So keeping the core nice and strong, keeping those abs lifted, tightening up all the muscles in those legs. Make sure your movements are controlled. Nice flat back. Take it as slow as you need to keep everything intact, the form intact. All right, guys, go ahead and bring that foot back down. So same thing, we'll do on the same movements on the other side. For a moment though, you can bring your hands onto the countertop or the chair and just lean back a bit, round your spine, give your back a little stretch. And then you can flatten the back and lift your head, lift your chest, draw the shoulders down. And exhale, round your spine. And one more time, inhale, flattening or lengthening. Okay, you can kind of stretch and bend into the legs a little bit, shake them out, whatever you need to release the hamstrings. And then we'll go back into that fold over. If you can, have the opposite forearm on top. Again, the forehead comes down, stick the tailbone out, nice flat back. Make sure those abdominals are still supporting the back body. Step your opposite leg back, point the toes, get that leg really straight. Standing leg is still in a good bend. So left leg this time we're gonna lift, tap the toes to the mat. Squeezing through that glute and hamstring. Keeping the leg as straight as we can. Nice strong core, belly button keeps lifting in and up under the ribs. Cinching the waist in. All right, last two. We're gonna hold this lift, little circles through that hip. And go ahead and switch direction. So creating some mobility. All right, guys, we're gonna tap that foot down to the back right corner of the mat, lift it up and out to the left. So tapping the toes down to one corner. When you lift the leg to the left side, make sure it's just lifting to hip height. It's not opening out too far. It's really just lining up with the hip. Okay, last 4. Doing our best to keep the hips stable. All right, guys, bring that foot back down. Again, hands can come to the chair. You can drop your chest down a bit. You can stretch around and release the spine, just stretching out a little bit. So inhale to release, head up, chest open. Exhale as you round. You can straighten the legs. Inhale, release, bend into the knees. Exhale, round the spine, legs lengthen. 1 more. All right, we're gonna stand up for a moment here. So you can turn so that just one hand is on the chair or the countertop for some stability. Your feet here are gonna be in a little turnout, heels together, toes apart. So find that outside hand can be on the hip. You just have a light grip on whatever you're holding on to. Bend into the knees a bit. We're gonna take that outside leg, left leg to start out to the side and lift the leg away from the body, tap the toes back down. So just a little lift and lower out to the side. Both legs are externally rotated. Hips and shoulders are squared off to the wall in front of you. Good for 4. All right, guys, go ahead and bring the leg in front of you now. So a little bit of a bend into that standing leg. Torso's upright, so make sure you're not leaning forward or arching back. Your forward leg, left leg is super straight. You're lifting it out to the wall in front of you. Good. So using your low abs to help you with that movement and keep the core strong. And make sure that when you're lifting, you're not tucking your tailbone under. So we're not changing shape in the spine at all. The back stays neutral, and you can feel if your tailbone's tucking under, it will look like more like this. Your whole body would be moving, right? Your back would be moving with the leg. We just want the leg to be moving. So do your best to separate the movements, separate the body parts. Okay, bring the leg back down. Both feet next to each other, parallel feet, and go into little prances here. One heel lifting at a time to shake the legs out a little bit. All right, same thing, other side. I'm gonna flip my chair around so you guys can still see me from this angle, but you can just turn around if you need to, if that works better for you. So again, heels together, toes apart, small turnout with the feet. Light hand grip on your chair or countertop. A little bit of a bend into the knees, torso's upright. Take that opposite leg out to the side, point the toes. You're just lifting the leg gently away from the body. Keeping the leg as straight as you can, that working leg. Tightening up all the muscles there, big deep breaths. Mostly it should be getting into that outer glute, outer thigh. So you should really be feeling that already. Good for 4. Okay, and then taking that leg forward, still make sure you're externally rotated through both legs, bend into that standing leg a little bit more, and lifting the leg out to the wall in front of you. Only lifting as high as you can without changing the shape in the back. So if you need to put your hand on your back to help feel what's going on there, you can. That'll give you some feedback. Good for 4. Good. Go ahead ahead and place the feet right next to each other again, shake it out a little bit. We're gonna come back in to that fold over, okay? So again, you have whatever you're using to balance. We're gonna come back into that forearms overlapped, forward fold. So one forearm over the other, whichever one you wanna start with. Scoot your feet back a little bit so that they're underneath your hips, rather than your feet being much further forward and your hips being much further back. We want the feet right underneath the hips. It totally changes the weight shift and the benefit and movement of the exercise. So abs lift up into the back body. We don't want to be arched or rounded. So nice flat back, stick the tailbone out, bring the forehead down, shoulders down the back. From there, you're gonna bend into your left leg, flex the foot. We're gonna send that leg back and up towards the ceiling. Inhale, bring it back in to meet the standing leg. Lift it back and up. So standing leg is in a nice deep bend. We're working through the glute and the hamstring of that left leg to lift the heel towards the ceiling, keeping the 90-degree angle in the leg the whole time. Okay, last 4. Hold the lift, point the toes, little pulses up to the ceiling. Okay, bring the knee back down. This time keep the toes pointed. You're gonna lift the leg away from the body and back in. So still making sure those shoulders are down the back, abs are lifted. Nice flat back as much as we can manage. Two more. Nice, guys. Bring that foot back down. Same stretch. You're going to bring your hands onto the chair or the countertop. You can drop the chest down and straighten your arms. Drop your head down if that feels good. We'll straighten the left leg, bend into the right knee. And then switch the legs out. Just bending gently into one knee while you're straightening the other. And then you can round your spine, lift the torso a bit, drop the head. Stick the tailbone out, lift the head, lift the chest, flat back. One more time rounding, exhale. And one more time releasing into that flat back. Okay, so you can shake the legs out as much as you need to. We're gonna go into the other side, so opposite forearm underneath. All right, so reset your position if you need to. A little bit of a bend into the knees there, and then same thing other side. So we'll have the right leg step, you'll bend into the right knee. We'll flex the foot. Okay, so 90-degree angle into that right knee, left leg is in a little bit of a bend. We're gonna lift that the right leg up and back to the ceiling. So squeezing into the glute and hamstring to lift the leg. Just making sure you're on the opposite leg that you were last time. Keeping the core turned on. Belly button keeps pulling in and up under the rib cage. And we're moving from the hip and from that glute and hamstring doing the work. Okay, last 4. Good, hold the lift, point the toes, little pulses up to the ceiling. All right, guys, bring it back in. Keep the toes pointed. You're gonna lift that knee out to the side and back in. So keep the standing leg in a good bend. Keep a flat back if we can. Now these ones get tough. Use the outer glute, outer thigh, and hip to lift the leg away. you'll gently bring the foot back down. Okay, stick the tailbone out, flatten the back, let the chest drop down. You can stretch however feels good there. We are going to come into a figure 4 stretch next. So you'll have the hands on the chair, the countertop here. Cross one ankle over the other, over the opposite thigh. Flex the foot. Carefully sit the hips down and back. Make sure if you're not super stable on whatever you're holding on to that you're not leaning back too far. But you're sitting the hips down and back. You're getting that hip and glute all stretched out. So breathe into that. This can also be done on the floor, seated or laying down on your back. And then go ahead and switch legs. Crossing the opposite ankle over the thigh. Big deep breaths. All right, guys. We're gonna come down to do some floor work here. So you can start in an all fours position. So you'll be on hands and knees. You'll be on hands and knees, hands right underneath the shoulders, knees right underneath the hips. Okay, you're gonna start with a little cat-cow, releasing, belly down, tailbone up, head up, chest open, big inhale. Feel the upper back stretching, and then exhale as you round your spine. Tuck the tailbone under, head drops down, scoop the abs up into the back body. Inhale to release, tailbone up, belly down, head up, chest open. And exhale to round. Tuck the tailbone under, scoop the abs. All right, find a neutral spine, more of a flat back. We're gonna step back into a plank here. So if you can, you're gonna stay on straight arms. Otherwise, you can always come down onto your forearms if that works better for you. You're gonna step one leg back at a time, tuck the toes under, lift the knees. Hold that nice strong plank line. So one long straight line from the crown of the head all the way back to the heels. We're gonna start to shift the weight forward, hinging through your shoulders and your ankles, and then shift the weight back. Inhale, exhale back, inhale forward, exhale. One more. Good. We're gonna lift the hips up and back into a downward dog here. So readjust the feet if you need to walk them in closer. Do that. Drop the heels towards the ground. Let the head drop down in between the arms. Your hips are lifted up and back towards the feet. And then inhale forward into your plank. We're gonna hold it there. Pull the right knee into the chest and hold for 4. Step it back, left knee and hold for 4. And step it back. Good. Gently bring the knees down. Walk your hands back towards your knees and sit all the way back to your heels for a moment. We're just going to roll the wrists out a little bit. So just stretching those wrists out from being on that straight arm plank. One more time, we're going to come back into that all fours position. Okay, so you're going to tuck the toes under. Hover the knees an inch or 2 off the mat and just pulse the knees up and down. So it's a really small movement, but working those low abdominals. Feel like you're pushing the ground away. Shoulders are sliding down the back. Fingertips are spread wide. Nice flat back. Breathing. And then gently bringing the knees back down. Good. So from here, same all fours position. We're going to lift the right leg, pointed toes, out to the side. We're going to circle it this time, back towards the wall behind us, down to meet the ground or the mat, and then out to the side. So you're just creating a circle through that right hip, keeping everything else as stable as you can. Okay, Go ahead and switch direction. Lift it up and back, to the side, in and down. Good, last two. All right, guys, bring that knee down. Gently sit back, hips to heels, take a quick child's pose. You can separate the knees a little bit if you like. Let your forehead come down. Take a breath there, big inhale, big exhale. The same thing, coming back up. We'll switch to the opposite leg. All fours, nice flat back, abs are lifted. Lift that left leg out to the side, pointed toes. Press it back towards the wall behind you and in to meet the mat again. I'm just gonna rearrange a little bit here so I have space. So out, back, and down. Good, so you're just making a circle through that left hip. All right, go ahead and switch direction. Lift it back and up, out, down, and in. All right, guys, go ahead and relax one more time. Child's pose, sit the hips back, big inhale, big exhale. All right, we're gonna go into some push-ups. So you'll bring your hands on the mat underneath your shoulders. Walk your knees back, lift the feet. So you have that modified plank, long straight line from the crown of the head to the knees. We're gonna go into narrow elbow push-ups. So as you lower, bend the elbows straight back in towards the ribs. Exhale, push up. You can always do this in full plank if you would like more of a challenge. So that would be with straight legs, knees lifted. Okay, we're going to do one more here. And then you can shift your weight back, gently lower the feet, walk your knees forward a bit. I'm going to have you guys lay down onto your back. So you'll swing the legs out in front of you. Okay, so feet and knees together, inner thighs are zipped up. You're going to grab onto the backs of the thighs with those hands and sit tall for a moment as you inhale. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under. Start to roll the spine down onto the mat behind you. Try to keep the feet heavy. Okay. So let your upper back and head come down. Relax your arms into the mat beside you. Shoulders are down the back. We're gonna lift the left leg up into tabletop. Press your low back down into the mat. So use your abdominals to do that. As you exhale, lift the opposite leg up into tabletop. Heels together, toes apart. So you have Pilates view with the feet. Take a big inhale. Nod the chin towards the chest. Exhale, curl the chest up over the rib cage and just hover your arms an inch or two off the mat. You're going to straighten the legs out to the wall in front of you, 45-degree angle, and then bend the knees in towards your shoulders. Lengthen the legs away, bend the knees in. So every time you straighten the legs out, you're zipping up the inner thighs, you're squeezing the glutes, wrapping the backs of the legs together, and then bending in with control, working against that body weight, against gravity. Make sure to keep your tailbone heavy. Keep the low back pressed down. Last one. Good, straighten the legs out. Lift the legs towards the ceiling. You can point the toes here. Lower the legs towards 45. Flex, lift. Point lower. Keep going like that. If you need to bring the hands back behind the head for neck support, do that. Okay, one more. Good. Bend the knees, give the knees a big hug into your chest. Let your head and chest relax back. You can gently rock side to side, let the back stretch out. You could even circle the knees around with the hands on the tops of the knees, just massaging through that lower back. We'll go the other way with those circles. All right, guys. So again, inhale, nod the chin towards the chest. Exhale, curl up. We're gonna lengthen those legs up to 45. Hover the arms. Separate the feet hips width apart. Little flutters through the legs. Belly button keeps pulling into the back body. And you're tightening up all the muscles in those legs. You're reaching through the toes. Just a really small range of motion at that 45-degree angle, and there may be fluttering half a foot up and down. Okay, curl up a little bit higher over the rib cage. Feel the low abs working. All right, gently bend the knees back in. Rest your head and chest down. Bring the feet down to the mat. Feet are in line with your hips, toes and knees pointing straight forward. Relax your arms down. We're gonna go into a bridge here. So you'll inhale, tuck the tailbone under, squeeze through the glutes and hamstrings as you exhale, roll the hips and spine up off the mat. And then you can inhale at the top and exhale, start to roll down slow, one bone at a time. Good, inhale, tuck under, exhale, peeling up and off. Make sure at the top you're balanced on your shoulder girdle. You're not arching the back, which would look more like this, popping the chest out. That's a little uncomfortable and it's not very good for your spine and your neck. So you want to make sure that the upper back is actually on the mat the whole time, really. Shoulder blades are down. You're just into this small bridge. And then rolling down slow, reaching the tailbone away from your upper back. So we do our best to articulate through the spine in both directions, moving up and down. So when we come down, we're reaching the tailbone away. We're bringing down one bone at a time. Really trying to focus on creating more length and more space in between each vertebra. All right, on the next lift, we're gonna hold it up at the top. And then little circles through the waist. So the hips go to the right, up an inch or two, to the left, down an inch or two. So it's kind of a hula hoop circle movement if you think about it, but it's much slower, it's more controlled. Good, really heavy feet, standing into those feet on the mat. Go ahead and switch direction. Try to keep your knees mostly stable. They'll sway a little bit, but we mostly want to move through the hips and the waist. Good, find center. You can roll down slow. All right, pull the right knee into your chest and straighten your left leg all the way out onto the mat. So give that right knee a big hug, compress the hip. You're gonna draw that knee across the body towards the opposite shoulder to stretch the hip out a little bit more. So big deep breath. One more inhale. Exhale. Same thing to the outer shoulder, so the right shoulder, take the knee out to the side. Okay, and then switching those legs up, we're just continuing with the stretch. Lengthen the right leg out, pull the left knee in, give it a big hug, compress the hip. Take the knee across the body. Big deep breaths here, just holding the knee in. And then take it to the outside shoulder. Okay guys, go ahead and straighten those legs out. You can kind of just rock windmill the legs side to side, keeping them straight. So toes and knees just rock to either side. Shake the legs out a little bit. Okay, go ahead and bend the knees, feet flat. We're gonna prop ourselves up onto our forearms. So carefully you can curl, nod the chin towards the chest, curl the chest up over the rib cage. Bring one forearm up at a time. Elbow comes back underneath the shoulder on both sides. Okay, so forearms are supporting you now. Both elbows underneath the shoulders. With your back, instead of being in flat or neutral, take an inhale. You're going to exhale to imprint the low back or pull the low back towards the mat. Scoop the abs in. So the tailbone tucks under. It's pointing towards the wall in front of you. Now the spine is more rounded. Okay, so from there, lift the right leg out to about a 45-degree angle. You're going to lift the left foot and attach it to the inside of the right knee. So one leg is bent, one leg is straight. From there, you're going to lower the legs and lift them back up towards the ceiling. Exhale to lift. Inhale down. Make sure that the knee that's bent is pointing towards you and then towards the ceiling the whole time, rather than out to the side at all. Good. Try to draw the shoulders down the back. Good. Go ahead and switch the legs out. So opposite leg is straight. Inhale, lower. So now you should have right leg bent, left leg straight. Still keeping that low back pull towards the mat. Keep those abs scooped in. Good, 2 more. Only lowering as much as you can without changing shape in the back. You want to make sure that back stays pulled down. All right, guys, bend the knees. This time, we're still on those forearms, still keep the low back pulled towards the mat. The feet are going to tap to the right side of the mat. You can lift the left hip a little bit as that happens, and then take the feet up and over to the opposite side. Take the feet up and over. So it's a little like rainbow arch, side to side. Using those low abdominals, so lots of ab work, lots of oblique work as well. Those side abs should be working hard to help with that movement. Okay, guys, go ahead and bring the feet down through center. Gently come back down onto your back. So let your arms lengthen and lower your upper back and head gently. And then turn your head side to side one more time just to make sure to release any of the tension in the neck. All right, so from there, we are going to straighten the right leg all the way out onto the mat. You'll flex the foot. Pull the left knee in towards the chest and straighten the leg towards the ceiling. We're going to externally rotate that leg that's lifted. You're going to inhale as you take the leg across the body. Exhale, bring the leg down towards the mat, up and back to center, across the body, down towards the mat, out to the side a bit, but mostly up and back to center. You're going to have to squeeze into that leg that's on the mat, the glute and the hamstring, to really help stabilize your position so that your hips don't rock side to side. So that bottom leg that's lengthened, it's really working. We're not just relaxed in that leg that's on the ground. It has so much energy through it. Go ahead and switch direction. Take that left leg out to the left, down, across and up, center, out to the left, down, across, up, center. Keep it externally rotated. Keep the core nice and strong. Try to keep the hips and the pelvis as stable and as level as they can be. One more. Good. Bend the knee. You can gently lengthen that leg out onto the mat. Flex the foot. Pull that right knee into the chest. Straighten the leg to the ceiling. Point the toes externally. Rotate the leg. Bottom leg on the mat is super energized and reaching the heel away from the upper thigh. Okay, so make sure it's as long and as straight as it can be. Leg in the air, take it across the body. Inhale, exhale, circle it down, around, and up. Inhale, across. Exhale, down, around, and up. Inhale. Take it slow so that you can make sure those hips aren't wobbling side to side. If they are, you're not getting the full benefit of the movement. So make the circle smaller if you need to. That'll help with the stability. And also just making sure that the core, the abdominals are turned on. You're squeezing into the glute of that left leg on the ground. Go ahead and switch direction. Inhale out to the side. Exhale to circle. Two more. Bend the knee into the chest. And then gently bring the foot back down to the mat. Okay, so we are going to lift the head and the chest one more time. But first, we'll bring the legs up into tabletop. So big inhale, exhale. One leg lifts, opposite leg comes up to meet it. Press that low back down into the mat. Make sure your abs are turned on to help with that. You're not in neutral spine, you're in imprint. Hold low back, press down. Grab back behind the thighs. Take an inhale to nod the chin in towards the chest. And exhale, curl the chest up over the rib cage. We're going to externally rotate the feet. So the legs, so turn the feet, toes and knees out to the sides. The knees are open, hips width apart, or shoulder width apart. You're going to take that right leg out to the right with the feet flex, and the left leg out to the left. The right knee bends into the right shoulder, and then both legs come together through center. Tap the heels and switch the legs. You can go hands back behind the head if you need to for neck support. So one leg opens straight out to the side as the opposite knee bends into that side shoulder. Both legs meet together through center, zipping up the inner thighs before you switch sides, okay? We're alternating. You can tell from my voice this is a really hard movement. You shouldn't be able to talk through it very well. Belly button pulls in and up under the ribs. Lots of core work going on. Make sure the legs are lifted high enough to where your back is pressed into the mat and your tailbone is heavy. One more each side. Okay, both knees come in. Let your chest and head come down. You can rock the back up side to side. Alright guys, arms open out into maybe a small V out to your sides, or T if you have room to open out to either side of the room. Lift your legs up into tabletop. You're going to let your legs fall to your right. Keep the shoulder girdle on the mat, and then exhale, use your low abs to bring the legs back to center. Inhale, let the legs fall to the left. Exhale, back to center. So side to side, just stretching the low back out. Using those low abs to help pull the legs back through center every time. Go ahead and give the knees a big hug into your chest. Grab onto the backs of the thighs. You're just going to rock yourself up to seated. So inhale. You can start to nod the chin towards the chest and kind of rock and roll, coming all the way up to a seated position. And then we'll find a side seated position with the legs zigzag to the side. So this is mermaid. So you're going to have your left heel to your left glute. The leg is bent back, and then the right leg bent in front of you with the foot to the inside of the left thigh. Square your hips and shoulders off to the wall in front of you. Bring the left hand down to the mat beside that left shin. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling and over into a nice side stretch there. So you can bend the arm, your left arm there that's on the mat, to allow you to get deeper if you like that, if you need to. But you're stretching through that right side of the body, so creating space between the ribs and the hip on the right side. And then we'll stretch the opposite way. Big deep breaths there, left arm up and over. Same thing. Left hand down, right arm reaches. One more with the left arm reaching up. And then both hands over to the left. We're gonna rotate gently. So twist the chest and head towards that left side of the mat, gently twisting through the back. All right, this time we're gonna stay in the same position that we're in. We're just gonna bring both forearms down to the right side. Okay, so here you're kind of gently twisted to the right. Elbows are underneath your shoulders, abs lift up into your back body. Point the toes of that left leg. You're gonna keep the 90-degree angle in the leg, and you're gonna start to lift the whole leg off the mat. So it's not a big movement, just a couple inches, but just thinking about moving from your hip, outer glute, outer thigh are working, and definitely the hip. Doing your best to keep everything else twisted in the way that it is, and facing the right way. Just that right leg is moving. Good, last 4. Okay, gently lowering the leg down. Carefully come up onto your hands, and you can walk yourself out of that position, so untwist. We're gonna take the legs the opposite way. We'll do your stretch first, and then that leg lift. So nice, neutral, mostly tall spine, right heel to the right glute. Bring that right hand down to the mat next to the right shin. Reach that left arm up and over, big side stretch. Bending into that right arm as much as you need to, and then same thing other way. Good. One more time. Good. Last time, reaching that right arm up and over. And then both hands to the right, or actually, we're going this way now. Sorry about that. We're bringing both forearms down. So elbows underneath the shoulders. Your forearms are to your left side. Rotate through the chest and just twisting through the back as much as you need to there. Point the toes of that back leg. Keep it bent. Lift the leg towards the ceiling. Gently bring it back down. So keeping those abs turned on. Try to make sure you're moving from your hip. Good for 4. Good. All right, gently bring yourself upright. You can bring the bottoms of the feet together for butterfly stretch. So the knees will bend out wide to the sides, feet together. You can bring your hands onto your feet and pitch your torso forward. That works best for me to stretch my hips out. Some people just like sitting tall, sitting upright. You could flutter your knees, like fluttering them up and down, or you could rock side to side. So whatever feels good for you today, just try that. And just be gentle with yourself in that stretch. Good, so the flutter would look more like this, sitting tall. You could put your hands or your elbows on the knees. You could gently rock side to side. Okay, and then we're gonna do a little bit of stretching in a little lunge position. So you can come onto hands and knees, step your right foot forward to the front end of the mat, scoot the opposite knee back, readjust as you need to be in that lunge. The front leg knee is going to be over the ankle, and you'll just lean the hips forward gently and allow the hips to stretch out, open up a little bit. So big deep breath. And then straightening through that forward leg, lifting the toes, walking your hands back to frame more of the calf of that leg so that your hips sit back towards the back heel and you can stretch the front leg hamstring out now. You can drop your head down if that feels good. All right, guys, we're gonna lower the toes of that front foot. Shift your weight forward again. Walk the front foot across the mat, coming into a bend into that leg, and then shift your back knee back as much as you need. Just being really gentle with yourself here. You're coming into, it's like pigeon stretch if you're familiar with yoga or anything like that. Your front leg is in a deep bend. The closer your front foot heel is to the opposite hip, the easier the stretch is going to be, or less intense. And then if the shin is more parallel to the front end of your mat, it'll be a little bit of a deeper stretch. So just be gentle with yourself, be careful with it. Try to breathe into it. It can be really tight with all our sitting and all our computer work. I know those hips are tight. And then same thing, we're gonna do the same 3 stretches on the other side. So you'll lift the hips up and back gently, switch the legs out, start into your lunge. Okay, so opposite foot is forward, knee over the ankle with the second leg back, the knee down. So lean the hips forward. The front hip is compressing, the back leg hip is just opening up. Big deep breaths. And then when you're ready, you'll straighten the front leg. Walk your hands back a little ways to frame the calf of that leg. Lift the toes so you can flex the foot and really get into that hamstring. Let the head drop down if you like. And then shifting your weight forward one more time, we'll walk that front foot across the mat, come into more of that pigeon, readjusting whatever you need, and then settling the hips down, and just make sure the head is up, chest is open. Big deep breaths. We're going to come up into a downward dog one more time. So tuck the back toes under, lift the hips, use the abs, lift the front foot to the back as well. So find that nice high plank line, inhale, and then exhale, lift the hips up and back, downward dog, drop the head down. From there you can pedal the feet out, bending and lengthening each leg one at a time. Good, and then both knees bend. Exhale, lengthen. Inhale, bend. Exhale, one more. All right, walk the feet forward towards the hands. A little bit of a bend into your knees. Hover the hands a couple inches off the mat, let your head drop heavy. Little circles through your arms. So you're just tracing circles above the mat with those fingertips. Switch direction. Good, take an inhale. Exhale, scoop the abs in. Start to slowly roll the spine up to standing. Try to have equal weight into each side of the body and each side of each foot. Come up one bone at a time. Nice and slow. You're restacking, you're lengthening. Good, all the way up to standing tall. Head comes up last. You can just take a second to roll the shoulders up back and down once you're up at the top. Good. You can also bring one ear to each shoulder, stretching the neck out. Okay, guys. All right, you are all set. Great job today. Thanks for coming.